show you a Center Axis Relock grip. You're going to notice it's a lot different from a lot of your other stances. So anytime you grip the pistol, choked up as tight as you can, as far up as you can. Wrap your 3 fingers tight as you can. Got it so far, right? Now with the Center Axis Relock, you're going to press your 2 thumbs together and then press them against the frame of the pistol. So as I squeeze this way, finger to palm, and as this one squeezes the other way, they counter each other. Pretty easy, right? You're gonna notice, like, right off the get-go, the stance is a lot different. And so there's 3 basically main parts to this Center Axis Relock. And I call it Center Axis Relock because you'll notice I'll pivot off of my waist, basically. You have the ready, which you're seeing me do right here, where I draw, and I can retain the weapon, I can block, I can attack with it, but it's for close quarters, basically, and you don't have to aim to be accurate. Here I am again, I draw to what I call ready, and then just a pivot of the gun, and then using your shoulders, you're fairly accurate. I'll show you that in a second. And there's me pivoting. The other parts are the regular stance and then long range, which I'll show you later. So there's the regular draw. Finger off the trigger, obviously. Proper cant, 30 degrees. And then you see how my gun's pointed down when I don't have a target. There's a grip, finger off. Gun pointed down at the ready when I don't have a target. Now here's the third part, where I extend out. I bring the rear sight to where my front sight was. When my front sight was the focus. That's how far away from my face it originally is. And so, this is the only stance when you draw, you swing your primary foot back. So it's the only stance where when you draw your weapon, not only do you have a retention system, but you move away from any potential assailant. The biggest thing isn't just how natural this is compared to everything else, like super easy, but recoil control is unreal in the Center Axis Relock. And I'll show you an example of that coming up here in a second.
Okay. This is a control on the car sort of fully automatic.
Esse é o ponto.
Ah, porra.
One more.
One more. Huh?
The guys are asking for one more.
This is MO. He's out.
Tem o carregador aí?
Quem que tem um de 380?
Ready? Locked into this position. This is the control on the gun. On this position here. Okay? Most of the time, guys' shots are all the way up the target.
Na maioria das vezes, nos ossos aqui, para atirar com essa arma, você vai fazer uma linha e a maioria dos seus tiros vão sair fora do alvo.
No máximo 3 pega.
Done it? It's good.
É, no máximo.
So I'm going to show you how to do not just the hand switch, but the reload. So, because you have both eyes open, I'm keeping my sight right on my target. You can V-scan for tunnel vision. Recommended every time you put it away, but we don't really do that as civilians. I don't have to look at my feet. It's easy to move around. Easy to do. If you can put it back. So some people will struggle with the completely stock magazine release. You can practice this by putting in an empty magazine, racking the slide back, you struggle with that, use your other hand. When it comes up, you meet your thumbs to lock it down. So the way you're going to do this, right? Elbow in, out, mag release, back, down. That's not throwing away the magazine. In the combat situation, you have so once again, you don't even have to be in the stance or anything. If you want to get comfortable at doing this, it takes one night to learn how to do it. Elbow in, tuck your elbow to your ribs, turn the magazine towards your magazine holster, flick your wrist out, hit the release, flick your wrist in, and as you put the magazine you ejected away, clip the side release, if you can. Otherwise you wait till you bring this hand up. Pretty simple. For the hand switching, remember our grip. Switch down and just do the opposite. The coolest thing about car is just how natural it truly is. Like, everything feels natural, way more control. The stance doesn't change if I'm sitting in a car, right-handed, left-handed, if I'm running, if I'm reloading on the go. It's all gonna, within 24 hours, you'll actually be able to go out and do this stuff. So the way you're gonna do this draw, whichever your main hand is, you're gonna drop that leg back and draw your weapon. So this is the only stance where you kind of move away from your assailant or whatever, and then touch your two thumbs together and bring it to your chest. Finger not on the trigger, two thumbs, see how grip? I'll do that again so you can see better. I'm right-handed, I'm going to drop my right leg back, draw the weapon, touch my two thumbs, press it to my chest. You can also bypass the ready part or the close quarters part and go straight into the normal part of the stance if you want. Right there, that's the transition, the normal part of the stance, or to any part of it. You don't have to go close quarters, then the regular. See, there's straight to regular part of the stance. So if you imagine I'm getting ready to throw fists, the stance that I use when I'm going to fight, that's your center axis relock grip. That's how natural it really is. And so if you're right-handed, your left side of your brain dominant, which means your left eye dominant. So when you can't the pistol, both eyes stay open all the time, but your dominant eyes down the sights, your other eyes behind the hammer, which gives you perspective and the ability to see objects around you, move freely. It really, really is natural. Close quarters, where we can pivot, defend ourselves, attack. The trick to firing from this without aiming is keeping your shoulders level. And don't move the gun. It's called center axis relock because you pivot off the axis of your waist and relock the targets. Acquire and lock targets. To the regular part of the stance, see how my waist, I keep myself rigid. That's what gives you the recoil control. So you're probably wondering, if I'm pivoting like that and I have to stay rigid, how do I look around objects? So obviously, by keeping your lock in your arms, you can switch hands naturally because you're just reversing your grip. So say there's a pole right here in front of me. I'm right-handed, this is the natural grip. See, I can look around that way. Now if I want to go around the other side of the pole, I switch to the left hand. Now I can look around the other way. The ready, regular part of the stance, and your Z scan. So anytime you're shooting, especially if you're in a combat situation, you get tunnel vision like a motherfucker. Like, you won't see anything beside you. And there's the long range part where I extend out. So my rear sight becomes where my front sight was, and I stand up fully for long range. Ready? And then when you have that tunnel vision, anytime you put it away or disengage, Z-scan. Form a Z with your movements, and it'll make you cover all areas and counter the tunnel vision. The reload is pretty easy. This is what you can practice just sitting at home, and it'll transfer into running, moving, doing it on the field. And that's not throwing the mag away. Practicing that will also give you a transition into an easy jam fix. So, let's say you're firing, it jams. Tap it on your forearm, back in, rack. There's our recoil control. So you notice how my arms are bent and locked. So everything is super rigid and easy to control. Whereas if I'm isosceles, see how much looser everything is? It's hard for me not to do lever. I've never really been an isosceles shooter. But even when you weaver and blade, there's isosceles. Weaver. See how everything's out, extended. So it's got maximum leverage. You're rigid, lots of recoil. Whereas this, I don't get any up recoil. Literally, once my arms are locked from the recoil, the second I go back into the lock, hence Center Axis Relock, I can fire again, and I'm on target. Moving around, see how I pivot? That's the Center Axis Relock. I'll show you the reload here in a second, one more time, and then try it. Just give it an hour, 2 hours of the grip, the stance, what I showed you, and practice the reload for 45 minutes, and then go try it, and let me know what happens in the comments. Thanks for watching.